Srimad, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrindi ki jai. Nama Acharya Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se koha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrindi ki jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Syam Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadvip Dham ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Tulsi Maharani ki jai. Yamuna Devi ki jai. Ganga Devi ki jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrindi ki jai. Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Creation, Chapter 11, Lord Krishna's Entrance into Dwaraka, Text number 23. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Swayam Cha Gurubhir Viprai Sadarai Stavirai Api Ashibhir Yujamano Anyar Vandabish Chavishat Puram Swayam Cha Gurubhir Viprai Sadarai Stavirai Api Ashibhir Yujamanonyar Vandibis Chavishat Puram Swayam Cha Gurubhir Viprai Sadarai Stavirai Api Ashibhir Yujamanonyar Vandibhischa Vishat Puram Swayam Cha Gurubhir Viprai Sadarai Stavirai Api Ashibhir Yujamanonyar Vandibhischa Vishat Puram. Please chant. Ladies. Anyone else? Swayam, himself. Cha, also. Guru B, by elderly relatives. Viprai, by the Brahmanas. Sadarai, with their wives. Stavirai, invalid. Api, also. Ashibhi, by the blessing of. Yujamana, being praised by. Anyai, by others. Vandivi, admirers. Cha, and. Avishat, entered. Puram, the city. Then the Lord personally entered the city, accompanied by elderly relatives and invalid brahmanas with their wives, all offering benedictions and singing the glories of the Lord. Others also praised the glories of the Lord. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The brahmanas in society were never attentive to banking money for future retired life. When they were old invalids, they used to approach the assembly of the kings, and simply by praising the glorious deeds performed by the kings, along with their wives, they would be provided with all necessities of life. Such brahmanas were not, so to speak, flatterers of the kings, but the kings were actually glorified by their actions, and they were sincerely still more encouraged in pious acts by such brahmanas in a dignified way. Lord Sri Krishna is worthy of all glories, and the praying brahmanas and others were glorified themselves by chanting the glories of the Lord. Trinadapi sunichena taroriva sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sada hari harenama 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 eva kevalam kalo nastyeva 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 gatir anyata. So this last sentence, Lord Sri Krishna is worthy of all glories. Just like we have our devotee Archita Das. Archita means one who is worthy to be worshipped. That is God, that is Krishna. Another one of his names, Uttama Shloka. God, Krishna, is such that in describing him, very select verses, very select words are used. It's just like when you write a card, Valentine's card, or some special occasion. You want to choose your words very, very carefully. So in the same way, Vyasadeva has chosen very select words in his Srimad Bhagavatam because it is his final masterpiece. We already studied in chapter 5 how Narada Muni instructed Vyasadeva to compile Srimad Bhagavatam. He had already edited and compiled the 4 Vedas. Then 108 Upanishads, which deal with transcendence. Puranas, Mahabharata, and then his scholarly masterpiece, Vedanta Sutra. But after all that day came when he was dissatisfied in his heart. Something was missing. He was feeling incomplete, although he is the incarnation of the Lord. And he pretty much surmised what the issue was, but for clarification, he was greeted serendipitously. His spiritual master arrived. And from that incident, we learn a very valuable lesson. As soon as there is some question, some difficulty in spiritual life, you have to approach the spiritual master. Fortunately, in this movement, we have Srila Prabhupada. We have his books. Everything is nicely explained in his books. Everything required. How to go back home, back to Godhead. Everything is sufficiently provided for one's own self-realization and how to help others. Everything is there in Prabhupada's books. We simply have to take advantage. That's why this class is so important. But apart from the class, one also has to read. It's very important. Prabhupada writes, just as you eat grains, because the body subsists on food grains, anad bhavanti bhutani. So in the same way, the body becomes stout and strong by eating food grains. The soul is nourished by reading these Vedic scriptures. And Prabhupada has given us the best. He has given us Bhagavad Gita as it is. According to Shankaracharya in his Gita Mahatmyam, he says that one book, Bhagavad Gita, is enough. That's it. Just read Bhagavad Gita. Everything is there. But Prabhupada did not neglect us. He gave us Srimad Bhagavatam, and practically predicting, he left us 10th canto in the form of Krishna book. All the pastimes of Krishna are there. You can, people, there's nothing wrong. People go to Vrindavan, yes. But for me, I cannot go. That's all right. I can read Krishna book. I am in Vrindavan. You cannot take that away from me. Just give me Krishna book, turn off the cell phone, and people, when I turn off my cell phone, they call, they hear a message. Sorry, I'm in Samadhi. When I come out, I'll get back to you. So, all I have to do is turn off the cell phone and read Krishna book. I'm in Vrindavan, or I'm in Dwaraka, or Mathura. This is the power of Srila Prabhupada's books. Because they're not ordinary, they're transcendental. Prabhupada gave us Chaitanya Charitamrita, the character and life of the living force in immortality. That's important. Lord Chaitanya demonstrates what is life when you are on the platform of immortality, the spiritual platform. Then Prabhupada said, he has given us the law book for the Krishna consciousness movement, Nectar of Devotion. He calls that the law book. So, and then he writes, these 4 books are sufficient. So just read and read over and over, same thing over and over again. And then just repeat. That's all. Just repeat the message. Yes, we put it in our own words. We're allowed that. My style of preaching is different than your style, provided I don't change the message. That's all right. Individuality is there. So, here, the next part of the sentence. The praying brahmanas and others were glorified themselves by chanting the glories of the Lord. There's this statement in Prabhupada's books that when you decorate the deity, simultaneously, you're decorating yourself. So this is a secret in the bhakti marg, the path of bhakti. That quote Prabhupada used so many times, but it's actually a statement by Narada Muni in the 4th canto to King Paranjana, that as you water the root of the tree, the branches, limbs, everything gets nourished. You put the water on the root. Or you supply food to the mouth, which goes to the stomach, all the limbs of the body are nourished. So the bhakti principle is yat karoshi yadashnasi yaj dahosi dadasi yat tapasyasya kaunteya tat karushva madarpanam. That simply by offering everything to Krishna, automatically everything is provided. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, that is the definition of Shraddha, faith. Sublime faith in something sublime. That simply by serving Krishna, automatically everything will be taken care of. One of the main things convincing me to join the temple was prasadam. Prasadam experience was so fantastic. I said to myself, I can't get this food anywhere else in New York City. So I must join the temple because the food is so good. And that was how many years ago? 1973. I'm still here for the food. But the point remains, never missed a meal, never was disappointed. It's always been delicious. So you serve Krishna, you surrender to Krishna, you will be taken care of. That requires faith. How do you get that faith? Associating with devotees. Our method is we associate with devotees. Then our faith is fixed up. For instance, I've noticed over the past so many years, when I see new devotees, then my faith becomes very strong. Because it reinforces that this is a science. And the science is everybody is potentially Krishna's devotee. So when I see the new bhaktas, I become, yes, the power of this movement. That new people are still coming, like waves, That's why. What did Prabhupada tell Ramaswara? Make your lifetime plans to distribute books. Lifetime. Why? Because it is by the distribution of books that new devotees are made. And they're out there. And now another generation has come up. They have not seen these books. So we try to repay Srila Prabhupada by giving what we got and giving it to others. That's gratitude. Not we hoard it. We're not misers. We are meant to share the wealth. And we share that wealth by preaching the Krishna consciousness movement, centered around distribution of books. Prabhupada writes that in 10th canto. Everything is centered around the distribution of books. We have so many different preaching strategies. So many. We have prasad distribution. We have home programs. We have Harinam. Fantastic. More better. But there has to be that distribution of books. Books. Srila Prabhupada's books. In every town and village all around the world. If you really want to please him, then just distribute books. One person wrote that song. We see in today's verse this word, Ashibi, doing so many home programs over the past 20 plus years. Everybody after the program comes up, they want blessings. And I try to preach, yes, you can have blessings 24 hours a day. You just have to take advantage. Say hello to my little friend. You want Ashibi? You want blessings? Lord Chaitanya has given you available 24/7, 352 weeks a year. Yes, it's there. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Maximum benediction is there. That first sloka of Shikshastakam perfects seven benefits from chanting. There's one very, very early pre-USA Back to Godhead magazine Prabhupada wrote. And there's this phrase, 7-tongued Sankirtan movement. 7 benefits. You cleanse the heart of all inauspiciousness. You extinguish the blazing fire of material existence. Not very far from here. Still, I think the fire is raging. People have lost everything. People are missing. That is a reminder. This material existence is just like a blazing forest fire. But the real blazing forest fire is in the heart. We're always hankering for this, for that. I need the new iPhone. I have to have it. Hankering for material things, thinking this will satisfy me. But that is Maya's trap. She promises the world, but you don't get it. You don't get it. She makes a promise. Yes, Surrender to me. I will give you your sense gratification, but then you get cheated. It's always you get the tease. It's a tease. That's what Maya does. Tease. Now, no satisfaction. We knew that. 1965. We knew it. I can't get no satisfaction. We knew it. We chanted it 24 hours a day. But still, Maya is so strong. Come again. Come on. You didn't make it this time. Now, one more time. Come on. Let's do it. Let's go for it. You got to go, deeper you go, the higher you fly. Come on. Let's get into it. And each time, Maya sleeps. Then one day, we came in contact with Prabhupada's books, Prabhupada's devotees. And your chance to get out of the blazing fire of material existence. Here, there's no blazing fire of material existence. This chanting is the life and soul of transcendental knowledge. That's why you have to chant and read. If you just read, you won't get it, because it's not just a matter of reading. You have to get the realization. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, from me comes knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. So besides reading, I have to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Then the understanding will come. I have to comprehend. I've seen it. I asked somebody to read out loud, but you can tell by how they read. They're not understanding what they're reading. It's just words. Na, 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 na. But they're not understanding. When you understand, then the way you read it becomes apparent. That understanding, life and soul of transcendental knowledge is this chanting of the Maha Mantra. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss. Material life is like this, up and down, up and down, up and down. You're happy a little bit, then sad again. Up and down. Not even steady. If it was steady, okay, that would be something. But it's not. It's always up and down, up and down. There's a song for that too. Riding high in April, shot down in May. There's a song for everything. They're describing the material world, but it doesn't get through. Why? Because they don't have transcendental understanding. That you get from this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. It is the waxing moon of all auspiciousness. Yes, waxing moon. Like tomorrow is full moon. Tomorrow ends Kartik. Tomorrow is the day Tulsi and Shalagram are married. Also tomorrow is the day another Rasalila is performed. Tomorrow, Thanksgiving Day. So it is the waxing moon. That means each night the moon gets brighter. So more and more I'm chanting Hare Krishna, my auspiciousness is increasing. It gives you a taste of the full nectar. Remember I said about Maya, how it's a tease. It's not full nectar. Not full. But what did Lord Chaitanya tell Sanatana Goswami? One drop from the ocean of devotion can drown the universe. One drop. And this chanting of Maha Mantra increases the ocean. You just have to Surrender to it. It's hard in the beginning, but you stick to it. Rupa Goswami reminds us that the only cure for jaundice is sugar candy juice, sugar cane juice. You go to India or you go to some South American countries, you get that sugar cane. So sweet, so nice. So Rupa Goswami says, when you have jaundice, which is disease of the liver, the cure is sugarcane juice. But problem. When you have jaundice, the sugarcane tastes bitter. I was explaining last week in Tucson. When I was a new devotee, I had a big boil, I think on my arm. So my godbrother Gaur Hari said, oh, we have to pop that boil. And you have to take golden seal tea. And he made this jar of this brown stuff. Golden seal tea. So nasty. But you have to do it. You have to get purified. So this Mahamantra in the beginning, Rupa Goswami points out, it may be very bitter. Why? I have the jaundice of ignorance. What is ignorance? Identifying as something of this material world. Identifying as the imitator enjoyer. Imitate. I'm trying to imitate Krishna as enjoyer, proprietor, and friend. But it's not possible. So I have this disease of jaundice. So even though the Mahamantra is the sweetest of the sweetest of the sweetest, because of the jaundice of ignorance, the Mahamantra is bitter. I don't want to, but Dr. Prabhupada says, take your medicine. So you have to do it by force. Force, you have to take it. I don't like it. Too bad. Take your medicine. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. But as you chant, the disease of ignorance starts to slacken. So the next time, it's not as bitter to chant. More and more, it gets less and less bitter. Then, when you're fully cured of this disease of ignorance, fully cured, you will taste this Maha Mantra. You become addicted to it. John Lennon, in his heroin days, was asking Prabhupada, how do I know who's the real guru? This guy says he's guru. This. How do I know who's the... Prabhupada said, find the person most addicted to Krishna. That's the spiritual master. He's addicted to Krishna. So, when I'm fully cured, you will not be able to stop me from chanting. It'll be the sweetest thing. Ever tried taking candy from a baby? Huh? Watch out. My grandson, when he was young, he didn't have a sweet tooth. He had a sweet mouth. And we would hide the candy. Still, that guy was so clever, he'd figure it out. We'd put it behind the refrigerator. That's all right. He would, like he had a sixth sense. Where's that candy? So when we come to that stage, no more ignorance. This Maha Mantra will be so sweet, we won't be able to stop. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Okay, let's have some discussion. Share the wealth. Who would like to open up? Nothing today, bring up. Oh, Rabindranath. I knew somebody was going to ask this question. I don't know if everybody will like my answer. How about we address that privately? Because not everybody will appreciate. Well, we'll talk privately. Sorry, I don't want to get political. Yes, you have a question, statement. You had your hand raised. No. Yes, Prabhu. The Mayavadis don't worship Krishna. That's the difference. Or if they do worship Krishna, they think that's me. We don't make that mistake. So actually, they're just worshiping themselves. We don't make that mistake. We are surrendered. We are humble. So we worship Krishna and we know Krishna will reciprocate. As he says in Bhagavad Gita, as you surrender to me, I will reciprocate. I will reward you accordingly. So the difference between impersonalists and us, even if they worship Krishna, they think, oh, that's me. So actually it's self-worship. So they're not watering the root of the tree. They're watering the branches, the leaves. They're not watering the root. They're putting the food in the ear instead of the mouth where it's supposed to go. Okay? What else? Okay. Yes, you have a question? Wait.
Yes. Srila Prabhupada's disciples, they're gurus now. Would they be considered spiritual masters?
Yes. Yes. But I will add one thing. You still have to read Prabhupada's books. And you still have to worship the founder, Acharya. Because any guru after Prabhupada is a guru to the extent that they represent Prabhupada. That's why you have got to read the books so that you don't get cheated. You should know what is the qualifications. You understand what I'm saying? So, yes, you'll have an initiating spiritual master, and you'll have to obey his instructions. But that does not replace Srila Prabhupada. You follow? So, have you studied Prabhupada's life? Have you read that book, Prabhupada Leelamrita? So add that to your reading list. Because you need to know who is this founder, Acharya. When you read that book, Prabhupada Leelamrita, then you'll see, you'll see it differently. Okay? Can you do that?
Yes.
Haribol.
Haribo. Jai Prabhu.
Anything else? Yes. Okay, so Cheto Darpanam Marjanam is the first one. Cheto Darpanam Marjanam, cleanse the heart. Bhava Mahadavagninya, extinguishing the blazing fire of material existence. Saradiya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam, increasing or expanding the white lotus of good fortune. I'm giving the definition as it's there in the final chapter of Chaitanya Charita. So, Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vidyavadhu Jivanam, life and soul of all transcendental knowledge. Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam, increasing the ocean of transcendental bliss. So, Chetadwa Baba Mahagdamya Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vidyavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam Pratibadang Puranamrita Swadanam. At every step, full taste, not a tease. And then Sarvatma Snapanam, full bathing of the self. So I urge you to read final chapter Chaitanya Charitamrita. Lord Chaitanya gives Shikshastakam purport. Very nice chapter. I have to read it every year so I get jacked up out of control. Huh? Chapter 20 of the Antya Leela. Okay, final chapter. Anything else? May you conquer the illusory energy. Hare Krishna. Jai. I love it. Jai. Thank you for reading. Beautiful. Jai. Yes, I got.
I think I need to email you because I'm not on your mailing list. You know, the last one I received, that Lala has a program, Lala's family.
Yeah.
That's all.
But see, some programs are private.
Yeah, I know, but Kundan's program is not private. Right?
No.
Yeah, so Bhalti Joshi said.
Okay, but Kundan has his own list.
Okay.
You'd have to tell him to put you on his list. It's out of my hands.
Because that's the reason I'm.
Yes. Okay?
But I am on your general.
Yes, you are. You got Lala's, right? You got the one from Lala's.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
that's the last
Yeah.
one.
So you're still, yes?
Mundane question. Your stepson, he's a lawyer?
No, he's learning to be a lawyer. What do you mean?
I got this. Well, I'm trying, I got this book distribution. I'm trying to set up a trust so that people want to put the book distribution on their will.
Okay. Do you want free service or? Okay. My son-in-law won't do it for free.
But he can do
My
it.
son-in-law could do it, but he won't do it for free.
How much, he would give, I guess we'd have to find out how much he would charge.
Okay.
But he said he's studying.
That's my grandson. You said my grandson. My son-in-law. So, you have my email? Send me email. I'll give you his contact number. You can, because that's exactly what he does.
When Prabhupada came in December, he did perform a wedding ceremony for Jivananda and Harsharani. And I was there for that. And I think my brother got initiated at that time also. And some devotee said to me, why don't I get initiated? And I thought, well, I'm not qualified, that's always for very high, elevated, that's a very special thing. And they said, no, just ask Prabhupada. At that time we called him Swamiji. So one day after the lecture, I raised my hand and I said, Swamiji, can I get initiated? And he looked at me and he said, will you follow the 4 principles? I said, yes. So then he nodded his head, okay. At that time, 4 other people shot up their hands and they said, can I get initiated? Can I get initiated? And Prabhupada said yes to all of them. So it was shortly after that see, my brother Krishnadas told me I should go up to Prabhupada's room, which was down the street on Willard. So I went up there one evening and I spoke to Prabhupada. I said, Swamiji, my brother Krishnadas tells me that you came back in this life because in your past life you killed a snake. So Prabhupada said, oh, your brother has told you that? And I said, yes. And that's, that was what I said to him. I didn't think of anything else to say to him.
The first instruction, actually it was a little bit of sauce. I remember the first day that I cooked, I was very nervous. I prepared things and I took them in and put them on his table. He had a little buzzer that he would ring for the servant to come. So I served him his lunch, waited, and when he rang the buzzer, I came in to take his plates and I took them out to the kitchen and I forgot to wipe the spot on his desk. So after a few minutes he rang his buzzer and I came back in and he said, you've forgotten to wipe the spot. And I said, I'm sorry, Prabhupada, and I went and got a cloth. The next day I forgot again. And when I came in, he rang his buzzer and I came in and he was strong. He said, you have forgotten again. And I remember, I took it seriously, but I took it lightly. I said, oh, I'm sorry, Prabhupada, I'll go do it. And my take on it is that he saw that I wasn't really ready for some heavy chastisement. So for months and months and months after that, I never got chastised for anything else. And I always remembered to wipe the spot.
When I did come back the next day, because I lived in Long Beach, and I took my parents' car and went to the temple early in the morning. I had met Prabhupada's secretary, Shama Sundar, at that time, and he said, "Would you like to go up and see Srila Prabhupada?" And that, of course, that was my intent. My intent was to challenge him. I had come to challenge him to see if he really is the guru, and the aspect I had made I had thought about that morning, and I made 4 points. He has to be able to know the absolute truth. He has to be able to know the process of the absolute truth. He has to be able to read my mind, and he has to know what the future is, be able to predict the future. Now, why I came with those, who knows? But anyway, that's what I thought would give me the right answers. So I was coming in ready for, to challenge Prabhupada, and which is the Maya I was in. I was fighting with people. So I came in to challenge Srila Prabhupada. And they brought me in the room, and I sat in the back, was the only open space, and there was all these sannyasis there with dandas, which I hadn't seen before. There was like a room full of sticks, and then there was like 2 people in white dhotis, which were Karandar and Jayatirtha, and then I was the only non-initiated devotee there with my long curling hair, and I was having difficulty sitting in a lotus position because I was too muscular built up. And then Prabhupada was just finished singing a song, and he was looking around the room and looked from side to side, and then he looked straight at me. And immediately he said, "Why are you a Kripana?" And just boom, it was like, of course I was thinking, I hadn't said anything now. What is a Kripana? And in my mind, and Prabhupada says, Kripana is opposite of Brahmana. And he started explaining how a Brahmana is the highest class in society. They're meant to know the absolute truth and be the mouth for God. And at that point, because he was so heavy, I remember Karandar and Jayatirtha and the sannyasis in the front sort of made a little aisle, so there was a direct contact for Prabhupada and me. And so I was looking at him thinking, what is this? I'm just being screamed at of being miserly. It means miserly. And then Prabhupada explained, he said, if you have abilities, and you're not using them for Krishna, then you're a miser. So we had never met before. And I came in challenging, and so Prabhupada first took the first whap and stuck it to me. Then progressively, then he started explaining the process of bhakti, the process that the absolute truth, what the absolute truth is the lotus feet of Krishna, and then he explained the process of bhakti, of rendering service. And so progressively my 4 prerequisites for being a guru was becoming erased one after another. Simultaneously I was being, kicked in the face by Prabhupada's, lotus mercy, by my nonsense challenging spirit. And finally it was at the last point, and Prabhupada was, having his way with me. And I kept ruggedly insisting in my mind, well, he didn't say any, he didn't predict the future. So, and just as I was thinking like that, obviously Prabhupada, like, you could tell he was like seeing right through you. And you felt naked by his vision. And Prabhupada called for Pradyumna, and which was his traveling translator, secretaries for his translations. So he asked for Pradyumna to go bring him the big volume that he translates from. This was a 10 commentary volume of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which has all the major commentaries of the Vaishnavacharyas. So at that time, in the early 70s, he had not read from the 12th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam before. So Prabhupada then asked him, he turned it, get the book. When Pradyumna gave it to him, he turned to the 12th canto and he started predicting the future for the age of Kali. And he started saying, and he looked at me and he said, people will think they're beautiful by having long hairs. And I had this long hair. And he started explaining many of the different predictions in the age of Kali, and I felt so defeated. I hadn't even opened my mouth. I hadn't even, thank God, by Krishna's grace, I hadn't made any offenses other than offensively coming into him. And that was the first time Prabhupada smashed me. And at that, immediately after the darshan over, I just bulleted out of the room. I mean, didn't see anybody, but ran down the stairs, jumped in the car, and started driving back home to Long Beach. And I was thinking, well, I've been called a miser, and I'm thinking all these different things. And then I'm going over all the stuff that Prabhupada said. And finally I reached home. I said, well, why don't you just face it? I'd just been defeated. And I wasn't used to being defeated, but then I remembered that this is what I was looking for, and here's an honest and regal and powerful guru, and I recognized I had been defeated. So it took a little bit of courage, and so I drove back the next morning and I wrote a check out for $1,000, and I saw Karandar down in the gift shop, so I gave it to him and I made it out to A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, and he looked at it. Like, that time $1,000 was like, a really big donation, and he said, "Oh, come, give it to Srila Prabhupada." And I said, "No, that's okay." I survived the first meeting, so he put it was, wait here. So he brought it up to Srila Prabhupada, and as he gave it to Srila Prabhupada, he had me waiting there, and he came back down, and he told Karandar to tell me that I have understood. So that was my first meeting with Srila Prabhupada.
The first time I met Srila Prabhupada was in Calcutta, November 1971. I was a Peace Corps volunteer then, not too far from Calcutta, and I used to go into Calcutta for milkshakes. And I was there, and I saw a big poster, Hare Krishna Festival. Well, I was very interested in the Hare Krishna movement. I was curious if it was bona fide or not, because I'd been attracted to the mantra in the West. So I immediately took a trolley to the festival. And at the festival there was, I believe it was Giriraj, Brahmachari then, speaking. Prabhupada was sitting there on the pandal. And it was an audience of all Bengali men. It was a fancy part of Calcutta. They were all in suits and ties, and the devotees were all in dhotis. And then the speaker was saying, "You have given up. You are chasing after the garbage we have given up." Finally, after having lived in India for 6 months, somebody said something that made sense. And I was intrigued. It says, you are chasing after the garbage we have given up. So then I went to the temple afterwards I found out where the temple was and went over there, and there was Prabhupada. And they said, "Would you like to come in and meet Prabhupada?" So I said, "Why, sure." So I walked in, offered a little respect, and so Prabhupada, there was same Calcutta temple, nothing's changed. And so the room was just a room full of mattresses with sheets, and Prabhupada was sitting behind a low table, and there was a few devotees in the room. And when I walked in, some devotees were arguing in the back of the room. I was thinking, this is a pure devotee, and they're arguing, they can just ask him. Because I'd understood little about what some of the philosophy was. Of course, I understood later those devotees, at least one of them had shortly thereafter blooped, so wasn't one who was accepting authority. Anyway, I was wondering what was going on. Then Prabhupada said, so you have a question? And I said, yes. You are pushing this Hindu view, but why not Buddhism? Kind of a stupid question. So then Prabhupada gave what I think was a very typical response for Prabhupada. So what does the Buddha say? Heck, if I knew what the Buddha said. So I went back to my Oriental Philosophy 1 course and said, well, eightfold noble and fourfold path and this and that. And then I turned to Prabhupada and said, well, actually, I don't know what the Buddha said. So he said, well, why are you advocating that path? Or why are you want to know the Buddhist path if you don't even know what the path is? Why are you asking me that question? So at that point, I became a little humbler and just sat and listened.
One time we were in Prabhupada's room, and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday we would have kirtan in the temple, and alternative days we would go up to his room for darshan. One time we were sitting in his room and Prabhupada said, oh, Saradiya has very nice tilak. Krishnadas has no tilak. And he went around to each and every devotee, pointing out whether they had tilak or not, which indicated that it was very important to him that we wear tilak.
I remember one morning early on, he said, can you make halava? And I hadn't had much Vedic cooking experience. I was a cook by nature, but hadn't done much before I'd done this work. And so I said, I really don't know the recipe, but I'll call the temple and find out what the recipe is. And so I called the temple, couldn't find anyone who knew what the recipe was. I knew what the ingredients were, but the amounts I didn't know. So coming from a healthy, hippie kind of background, one of the reasons I didn't join the temple was I didn't want to give up raw diet. And I remember my first donation to the temple, my first service, was a 50-pound can of honey, because I felt like we shouldn't be eating sugar. So I speculated, and I made halava with honey. And if anyone knows, you end up with something you could play baseball with. So I remember I made this preparation, I put it in the bowl, and I took it in with his breakfast, and he didn't touch it. There was one small dent out of the corner where he was able to get his spoon into it a little bit. And he was very kind, he didn't say anything to me about it. Later on, Kartikeya Swami made halava that came out fluffy and light, and Prabhupada ate 2 or 3 servings. He said, this is halava, find out the recipe. So I did. And just for the record, 2½ water, 1 farina, 1 butter, and 1 1/3 sugar. And the extra water, it was more than what the recipe